Let's see what we have now for Trump administration picks to run our country. Just a little taste test. Note that the first three do not require Senate confirmation. We're stuck with them. Steve Bannon is Trump's chief strategist. Bannon is the former chairman of Breitbart News, an alt-right, that is white supremacist, hate-mongering, lying website of, dare I say it, scumbucket fake news stories and attacks. And this guy will have the president's ear full time. What could possibly go wrong? Reince Priebus, former head of the Republican National Committee with an exceptionally fluid connection to facts and reality, has been named as Trump's chief of staff. That means that Priebus will largely be in charge of who and what comes before the President of the United States. What could possibly go wrong? Michael Flynn has been named Trump's national security advisor. Flynn is the guy who was fired from the Defense Intelligence Agency for his flamboyant and fatuous notions and ways. He had the astoundingly poor judgment to retweet anti-Semitic comments and to tweet fake news 16 times in the last few months. He even had the complete lack of sense and absence of good judgment to tweet baseless, brainless nonsense about non-existent Hillary emails supposedly connecting her with money laundering and sex crimes with children, the so-called Pizzagate. With Flynn as the nation's national security advisor, what could possibly go wrong? Jeff Sessions is Trump's nominee for Attorney General. This is the same Jeff Sessions who was rejected for a federal judgeship a few years back because he's a racist and a segregationist. As a senator from Alabama, he's opposed nearly every piece of immigration legislation that's come before him. The AG is the one in charge of deciding which cases will be prosecuted, that is to say, which laws will be enforced. With the segregationist and anti-immigrant in charge of our civil rights laws, again, what could possibly go wrong? Scott Pruitt to head the EPA is a noteworthy choice. As the Oklahoma Attorney General, he sued the EPA repeatedly and berated it, saying it was anti-energy. He dislikes EPA regulations. You know, those pesky things that, for example, keep corporations from polluting our water? And he is a de facto climate warming denier. With those bona fides at the head of the agency, what could possibly go wrong? Dr. Ben Carson is Trump's pick to head the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Carson has repeatedly declared that he has no experience in running anything other than a neurosurgery. While his doctoring skills may be fine, they don't qualify him to run any agency of government at any level. He's clueless. So what could possibly go wrong there? Retired General James Mattis is Trump's pick for Defense Secretary. Most acknowledge that Mattis is a capable fellow, but he retired only 3 years ago from the military, and our laws require that he be separated from the military for at least 7 years to hold such a position. It used to be 10 years. Oddly, Trump seems to believe that flaunting the law is okay. Go figure. But the 7-year limitation is there for a reason, so that we maintain civilian control over our military. Conservatives should be all over this as a flagrant attempt to violate the law, and Mattis should go find something to do that is both useful and legal. Otherwise, we will have codified law-breaking. What could possibly go wrong from that? Betsy DeVos is Trump's nominee to be Education Secretary. This is the same Betsy DeVos who wants to reform education to, this is a quote now, advance God's kingdom, and wants to use school choice to do that. Be clear that school choice means vouchers of public money doled out to spend on kids' education in private religious schools. So much for the separation of church and state. There's way more to DeVos's lunacy, but the key here is that she is an opponent of public education, a religious zealot who wants to run the country according to the laws of the Bible. Are you ready to stone adulterers? And she's Trump's pick for Education Secretary. What could possibly go wrong? Saving the most insane for last, Rex Tillerson, CEO of ExxonMobil, is the nominee for Secretary of State. He proudly signed a $500 billion deal with Vladimir Putin and his government's 70% share of Russia's state oil company to drill in the Arctic and the Gulf of Mexico. Tillerson was awarded Russia's BFF award by Putin himself. Everyone agrees that national defense, the security of our nation, is the primary job of the federal government. How is this guy, who cozies up to our key adversary, going to look out for America's national security interests? Oh, and by the way, Trump wants John Bolton to be Tillerson's sidekick. That's the same John Bolton who thinks we should nuke Iran and insists to this day that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction that reality has proven never existed. With Tillerson and Bolton at the Department of State, what could possibly go wrong? There are more nominations we can examine, including a nominee for Treasury Secretary who's direct from Goldman Sachs, a woman to head the Small Business Administration who's a reality TV mogul, heading World Wrestling Entertainment, a Labor Secretary who opposes overtime pay and is anti-labor, an Energy Secretary who wants to eliminate the Department of Energy. The list goes on, but the point is clear. Trump promised to drain the swamp, but instead has brought before us establishment types and billionaires who are blatantly at odds with the agencies they would lead. Given the power in their hands, each would worsen the condition of ordinary, read, not billionaire, Americans. There's nothing that can be done to excise those who do not require Senate approval. That swamp will remain polluted. For all the rest, senators, do the job you are hired to do and stop this insanity. Otherwise, we will indeed find out exactly what could go wrong. I'm Jack Alshuler.